So like one thing I wanted to pivot into to try to get away from religion, because I think we could probably do another podcast on
Keep
that,
going on that.
is the conversation that I think it was last week in the men's group that we had about male friendships. Um, and I really think that is the way through for men to become more connected and less isolated and more like take some steam off the pot a little bit. I told a story of how my friend and I were having a conversation about him and his wife that were having a bit of a rough go after, a certain period. And he'd start talking about it and be like, oh, like, I don't want to bring this into our friendship. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of my best friends and saying like, what, well, let's just keep it light and joking around. And I'm like, dude, like, you tell me you go on your bike and scream into your helmet. Like, this isn't good. Like, what do you think we're friends for? Like, I'm just going to be here when things are hilarious, and then when you're suffering, I'm going to take a five. Like, and him and I have really connected more on that, and we've started sharing more of these ideas. And I'd love to hear, from you guys about your male friendships and what you think, like how you'd like them to be or not be, or just on the topic in general.
Another silence.
Yeah. Just
I can keep going.
contemplating.
I'll dive in. So I think during that session, I mean, I talked that I have different friends for different things, and many people were like that. But I think to your kind of question, your point, I actually wouldn't consider a male friend of mine a close friend or a good friend until we're able to share about sort of emotional, personal things about one another. We don't have to do it every time, but I have like, for me, I have like a personal kind of like, I can be good friends with somebody. We can hang out, we can have fun, but I feel like they don't know me on the level that I would like them to know me, and I may not know them as well. And for me, that's like a very high priority, something I value immensely for those that I would consider good friends, or at least have the potential to be good friends. And of course, like time can be a thing, or shared experiences. What I think is so beautiful about the men's group and sitting here with you guys is I have now met you guys for the very first time today in real life, but I think you know me, and I know you. And sure, there's more to know because I've been able to have a space to share with each one of you and open up about some of these things. And to me, I think that's really important. So I do have many great friends that, maybe those for sports or for having a beer or, just, cultural activities, whatever it might be. But I think that for me, it's the most important thing is in a time of need, I can be there for you. And in a time of need, for me, they can be there for me, but also that we can really share each other totally, because there are very personal things about me that I'm lucky enough that most people don't know. Like they don't assume the worst of me. Like they don't stereotype me in a negative way oftentimes. And I'm grateful for that in some ways, but then they sort of project onto me like a version of me that they think I am, and it may not always line up with like my real authentic self. So for me, is like I guess that's the word, is authenticity is really important for me. And in order to allow for authenticity to sort of show itself, we have to sort of cross that barrier of being able to it could be just one late night, too many beers. Hey, like let's really actually like get into a deep conversation. It could be philosophical. It doesn't always have to be just about us, but knowing that there's like the ingredients, there's the capability for this to actually exist in that relationship. To me, that would be like the thing that I ultimately would be like investing in those relationships.
This conversation or this topic just keeps coming up in my life. It's like synchronicity or something is going on, because like before the last group, I was having a conversation about it. With my partner, and I was journaling about it, and it's something that I've been focusing on. I mean, I was raised with 4 sisters, and my little brother was born when I was like 15, right? So I always wanted a brother in the family, but I was raised with girls. I was always more comfortable with sharing with girls. I think maybe most men are, regardless of that type of thing. But this is why when I was looking for a therapist, I wanted a guy therapist. That's why when Arne mentioned this men's group, I was like, yes, please. Like, I want to do that. Just out of this curiosity to explore it and to practice it, because I have actually been accused by a particular guy friend that I'm really hard to break into, he said. And that was one of the things that was kind of a cue in my mind that, oh, maybe I do have something to work on. And so for me, it's really just practicing that. And in our group, you talked about empathetic witness, and just kind of, to me, it's like I'm dating for the first time. It's not only, it's not like it's like dating. It's like, it's like, how do you date, right? Like, who are these foreign objects, and how do you share with them? And so, but I just completely, relate with everything that you just said. That's what I'm looking for as well. And it has, since that last group, I've kind of gone through an inventory of myself and of my friends, which is, does this friend have the capacity to go deeper with me and to grow like long term, right? Because I don't want any surface level things other than, people I play paddle with, or, have a drink with, or whatever, that, yes, we'll go have some fun. But like, queuing in on who are those friends, and kind of creating, when my partner met me, she showed me a list of the qualities, the characteristics and values she wants in a man. And she's like, look, there's 15 of them, you got 9, that's a pretty good score. So I feel like I'm kind of making that list, and it's not as trivial as, I mean, maybe that's not trivial, but it's really just down to, can I be open with them? Can we grow and go deep in our friendship in a way that I probably still don't even know how to yet. But I want that. I want to grow into that.
Right.
Oh, it's an interesting one, because I think the sort of the things that we spoke about before, the kind of the logical, rational side, and the more sort of emotional side, I would traditionally have kind of got the more, let's say, emotional connection and talking that through with friends that are female, for the most part, actually, and my male friends were, again, very generally speaking, the reserve of the kind of the let's go to the pub and shoot the breeze type stuff. But I think more and more recently, particularly as I've sort of got past 30 and beyond, into my 30s and beyond, I do feel I'm, like yourself, sort of developing, or have, I think I've got a set of core friends that I really can confide in. And I think as well, just broaching subjects of not being afraid to broach subjects, saying, actually, this is really bothering me. I'm through a bit of a shit time in my life right now, for whatever reason, or having a bit of a bad time, because I think there's a maturity of, I think particularly when you get past 30, stuff starts to happen, doesn't it? Really, things that were sort of foundational really start to get challenged, and like health of parents, health of aunts, uncles, maybe grandparents if you're lucky, big changes in your life with children and so on. If they come along, stuff gets real, doesn't it? You're no longer in a protected bubble of either parental family or nearly naivety of your 20s and raw energy. So yeah, I think being open about those experiences, there's definitely, I feel quite fortunate, I suppose, to have a couple of core friends who've kind of come on that journey with me, and I can sort of confide in. I would like to do it a lot more, for sure, because I think there's something about frequency of it. I think the whole, how can I say this? I think women can make stronger connections, and there's a frequency with it that men are not very good at. I'm terrible at just, following up with people, messaging, staying in touch, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm the first guy to say, wow, I've not seen you in a year, and yet it feels like, it feels like yesterday. We've had, And then I always catch myself and think, well, why didn't I make the effort, to kind of keep it live, and that would have been beneficial to both of us.
Right.
So yeah. So to go to your question about what would I want more of from male friends, I think for me there's a definite kind of, yes, let's a frequency and there, and not kind of letting things drift would possibly be the number one. It's a very practical thing. There
Right,
you
yeah.
go, left brain again.
Right. So that's like the emotional muscle you need more reps
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because I'd like to challenge something you said, Ryan, about like you don't consider someone like a close friend, unless like you guys can really go deep. And my perspective on that is because as I mentioned, like growing up in my household, like my male figure, mostly my dad was like just not an affectionate person, and and so I think I had that side, but also the side from my grandfather and uncle who were very open, very kind, giving, whatever, and so I think I made like a spectrum of male friends, some who mirrored maybe my relationship with my dad, and then others that were more open that mirrored the other relationships. And so there are a couple of guys that I still have in my life that like they have a real hard time with emotions, and like I think it's like his girlfriend, now wife, that helped me understand how important our relationship was to him. And so and I know this guy that like if I ever need anything he would be there 180%, and always like going through my 20s, even if he wasn't doing the stuff that I was doing or like aware of it, he would be always the one to ask questions like how this is going or how this business is going, even when like the most of them at the start were just complete dog shit failures. But he was always the one being like, so how's this, and but emotionally, I don't think it's very hard to get him to that level to talk about our inner lives. Where I think like the more questions I ask, I think he feels judged. If it's like, oh, how's it going with the kids? Like, oh, why'd you decide to do that? Like, where I'm a very inquisitive person, and I think I realized it was hard for him, and it was affecting our friendship because he felt like, why is this person trying to get into my inner life, even though we were so close otherwise? And so, because I've been thinking about this concept of male friendships, of how to like explain to some men how to go and look for these closer relationships that I think we all value very much. And the way I've thought about it is that like, have you guys all seen the original Top Gun,
Yeah.
for example? So like, so I would say like, let's consider, if you consider yourself Maverick, you want to go in your life and look for obviously other gooses that would be more like your close friend that like you can share all the things that you just talked about. But then there are also people that are like completely shut down, that you realize, okay, like this is probably not a good zone for me. It's a danger zone, right? But then you also have other people that are more like like Iceman or Hangman in the new movie, where like they have this tough exterior, but that they would be there to save the day in the end if they wanted to. And I've just been thinking about these three categories, where it's like, because these other men, like Iceman, for example, these are great people who like maybe deserve some more patience and like understanding for who they are. And so that's the nuance that I kind of wanted to bring, and I'd love to hear like all of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, to respond to that, I mean, but I think you've answered sort of what I'm saying and maybe articulated it better than I did. It's not that I wouldn't consider, like, I can have good friends, and it doesn't have to be about talking. But to me, you've sort of answered. Oftentimes, it's through action. Oftentimes, it's through intention. So, like, I have friends who are more comfortable talking. I have some friends who want to talk probably too much, to be honest. Male friends who just are always happy to talk about this stuff, and others that are a little harder to crack. But to me, it's more that connection and understanding, because what you sort of communicated to me was, he is there for you, and he understands you, and he is a support system in your life. And maybe he doesn't communicate as much, but that he's there for you. And I think, like, I guess oftentimes you can kind of cultivate those relationships through talking about sort of certain things, but maybe those things can be cultivated in other ways, in other manners. So it's like, for me, perhaps I didn't make enough of a distinction. Like, I mean, I have many good friends around the world that maybe I don't maybe we don't have as much to talk about, let's say, because we don't know about each other's personal lives maybe as much. But I guess, like, to your point, like, I mean, if something serious happened, you can rely on that person. You can come to him, and if he were to be ready in your case, he would likely come to you. So I think, like, maybe that's more the way to say it. It's like, if he were in a position where he was comfortable with sharing, you probably would be amongst the first that he would share with. And I think I would sort of judge it like that as well, for me,
Right.
in that capacity as well. So to me, it's like not like as binary. It's more like a spectrum, because even those that I would consider really close friends, we can continue to be closer. I some of my friends I've known for, one friend I've known for 36 years, another one I've known for 30 years. And these are two of my closest friends in the world, and we're still learning about each other, and we're still developing a lot of along the
Right.
way. And one of those friends is very easy to share things with, and that other one is just learning now, actually, just lately, about how to be comfortable with sharing. And but I know that they're both there for me, and I know that I'm going to always be there for them.
Yeah. I appreciate that nuance.
I think you articulate better than I did. Yeah.
I just like the Top Gun reference. Covering both movies as well.
I'm
Not
here-
just
I'm here
the
for
original.
reference.
Yeah.